What is up? Hello, friends. It's been a minute. I don't know. I just had life. Of course, I also got this straight from the dry cleaners. And look, I got it stained. My olive went all the way down my dress. But that's okay. Hey, it's life. All right, I'm excited to be here. I've not been live with you all in a while. I'm gonna go ahead and tap the screen and just say thank you for joining me. I have some live Q&A to answer. I have some Herpes Anonymous questions to ask or to answer for you. In the meantime, also feel free to ask your questions. The reason why I do Herpes Anonymous, it is something that is paid. The reason why I do that is my coaching is very expensive. My one-on-one coaching is very expensive. A lot of times on these calls, you guys will either be nervous or scared or embarrassed to ask questions because you just want to keep the integrity of your personality private, or I may not see it. It could be blocked from the app, or it may just be a very superficial. When I say superficial, I don't mean like stupid. I just mean a very high level question. Definitely not low level. Definitely not unique to you. We do have we do have our secret society, which is a support group that people can join. And we have 8 calls a month. So it is something that we do have a lot of. But this is your opportunity to ask your question that would be super beneficial, super nitty gritty, specifically about you. So I am going to go ahead saying a whole lot of nothing in every video. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. What would you like? What are you looking for? What am I missing? I'm open to little constructive criticism. So if I say a whole lot of nothing in videos, what are you looking for? So let me know and I'll change. Oops. Fighter Edge. Who said that? Cool. All right. Wow. Thanks for the hearts, guys. Is everyone's summer going well? Are you guys on summer break yet? I'm on summer break. My son got out 2 weeks ago. So it's officially summer at my house. I'm excited. Every time somebody asks you something, you say, I don't know. I don't feel like that's accurate. I have said there's things that I don't know because it may be a question that I've never come across. But can you give me an example of something that I really feel like I've done a great job of answering people's questions. And if I don't know the answer, I feel like I do follow up and get the answer for that person. I can say that I am not a medical doctor. I am not in the medical field. So there are some things that I have to be gray about. I have to be lucid about because I cannot make claims. I cannot diagnose. I cannot recommend. So if it's something specifically, then that's something I cannot. Oh, someone said you're a nurse. Great. Ask this person who's a nurse. She has the license. Can Botox cause herpes outbreaks? I have never had that happen. Do you have oral herpes or genital herpes? And so I would assume I've never had that happen. I've also had laser hair removal on my face. I've had it genitally. It's never caused an outbreak either. So I've had it before I've had herpes. I've had it after I've had herpes. I've had laser hair removal while I've taken the antiviral, not taken the antiviral, and that's not caused it either. Botox shouldn't cause an outbreak. Do herpes, are they ulcers? It can be described as an ulcer, but I would use the word more blister or lesion. So when we talk about oral herpes, a lot of times oral herpes and canker sores are misunderstood. Guys, gosh, sorry. Can you guys even hear me? Are misunderstood. So a lot of times people think that canker sores, which are ulcers, which are kind of a crater type of sore, a lot of times people think that they are herpes, but they are not. So canker sores and herpes lesions look similar, yet they do look different. So maybe that is what you're wondering about a cold sore or a ulcer. You could call it an ulcer, I'm sure, but it's more of a blister. It can also look like a paper cut. I also have HIV, HPV, herpes, asthma, clap, machete to be. You also have TB. Okay, great. Oh, CPAP machine. Oh, and asthma CPAP machine. Okay, you got it all. At least you are honest about that. So Coco, you say you have HSV too? Yeah, no, Botox should be totally fine. A lot of times when you do go to get Botox, they will ask you, do you have herpes? Which I don't understand why they ask that. But yeah, no, you're totally fine. Has it caused outbreaks for you? Have you gotten an outbreak from getting Botox? You have such a great vibe. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mommy of B. That's cute. You have such a great vibe. Thank you. All right. Okay. Canker sores are not herpes. So herpes are the same. So herpes and cold sores, HSV. Why did I just get restricted? Okay, somebody said that they feel uncomfortable with what I'm talking. So I got a restriction right now. Your live contains themes that some may find uncomfortable and has been restricted. Violations. Okay, so guys, your live is not eligible for recommendations. The restriction will be removed once you turn on. Okay, so I don't know what's going on, guys. So I do want to say something. If what I'm talking about offends you or you don't like what I'm talking about, I am here to support people that have been diagnosed with HSV. I'm not here jumping around in a bikini. I'm not here showing my cooch. I'm here as a wife. I'm here as a mother. I'm here as a woman who has been diagnosed with herpes when she was in her late 20s. I'm sharing my journey. I'm sharing what I have learned. I am not a doctor. I am not a nurse. I am just a woman that has herpes, and I'm sharing what it's like to have been single, to date, to get married, to be pregnant, to deliver a baby, all of these things. If what I'm saying makes you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to be here. I'm not vulgar. I'm not dissing people. I believe that what I'm saying is very, very helpful. So if you are here and you don't like this, please do not send a report to the app. Bring it up with me, or just don't be here. Don't watch, okay? Am I offending any of you right now? I don't think I was. Please let me know if what I'm saying is vulgar and offending any of you. Please let me know that. Coco, go get Botox. You'll be fine. Can herpes be detected in a pap? So an actual pap. So when you're getting a pap, they're scraping your cervix for abnormal cells. So if they're just doing a pap, no. What can be determined during a pap? Because see, abnormal cells, that's looking for the HPV virus. It's a different virus than HSV. So it's not like, oh, one swipe and you have like all these results, right? It's not like an easy bake oven where you like shake and bake and put it in and you get the muffins out, right? There's a lot of different tests that would have to be done. So while you're getting a pap smear, your doctor or primary care physician could test you for bacterial infections, which would be like chlamydia or gonorrhea. Your doctor could check you for HPV. Your doctor could check you for HSV, which would be herpes. That would also be, you would have to have an active lesion, however, for that person to get the viral DNA. So just by looking, there's no like blisters or lesions, there's going to be no way to tell during a pap, okay? Can you pass herpes to someone? Yes, unfortunately, you can pass herpes to someone. And, oops, I did not mean to do that. Yes, you can pass herpes to someone when you have an active outbreak. You can pass herpes to someone when the virus is shedding. The unfortunate thing about viral shedding is we as hosts do not know when it's happening. Most of the time it's asymptomatic, meaning you don't have itch, tingle, outbreak, blister, or anything like that. And so it can happen during that time. In fact, 70% of transmissions actually occur without an outbreak. HIV can turn into herpes. That is not correct. HIV cannot turn into herpes. That's like saying a fish can turn into a pork chop. Like they're two different species. You have a fish and you have a pig. So these are two different viruses. HIV is a different virus. It's the human immuno, I don't remember what HIV stands for. Then there's HPV, that's human papilloma virus. That's what causes abnormal paps. That's what causes cervical warts. That's what causes cervical cancer. Then there's HSV, herpes simplex virus, which is what we're talking about. There's HSV1, or there's actually hundreds of HSV viruses, like chickenpox is HSV. But what we're talking about today is HSV, herpes simplex virus. So no, it cannot turn or transmute or change into another one. Oregano will help outbreaks as well. Yes, or sweet Melissa essential oil. Yes, absolutely. It will help. Yeah, Mommy B says, no, herpes does not show up in your pap. You need a herpes test. Exactly. Please remove yourself if you're not comfortable. Yeah, if someone is here and you're not comfortable, just remove yourself. I'm really trying to do the best I can do. It's so annoying, these violations, when you are giving help information. Thank you. Yeah, I get violated every single time I go live, and it makes it so that I just, like, right now, my account is like one thing away from being restricted permanently, and it's really frustrating to me. What was dating with herpes like before you got married? So I was in my late 20s, and one of the things we were talking about on our support group call last night, which was really great, with other people, so it's very similar experiences. A lot of times we're not sure of what we want or who we are until we have herpes. Because when we have herpes, we now have to be very straightforward, very confident, and very secure in what it is that we want. So meaning when we have our disclosure, I just wrote a blog post about it. Just because somebody accepts your disclosure doesn't mean that you're like gonna go sleep with the person. It doesn't mean that that's someone that you want. You may even be turned off from that person because the person may be like, yeah, cool, I don't care. Or like, well, I'm not going to get tested because I know what you have and I don't have it. You know what I mean? So just because you have herpes doesn't mean that you should lower your standards. It makes you even more confident about what it is that you want. So you get to be more selective. If somebody's going to reject you for herpes, that person is not into you. Period, the end. There's 3 reasons why rejection happens. 1, the person isn't emotionally mature to have the conversation. This is the type of person that's like, yeah, cool, I don't care you have herpes, whatever. What do you mean, whatever? Like, no, this is a conversation we need to have as a foundation. So that's a perfect example. Or 2, the person is deep-rooted in his or her beliefs about STDs or about herpes or about you, for that matter. His or her point of view is not going to change. I use the example of religion. You can have someone of the Jewish faith. They're not going to agree with someone of the Christian faith. It's just not, you're not going to, you can talk about it, but someone's like, yeah, I'm not going to believe that. I don't believe the other side. So you can have a logical conversation with someone about having herpes, and that person may be like, yeah, I totally get it. It's not a big deal, but for me it is, and I'm not going to change my belief on that. So that's that. Or 3, the person's not into you. So when I was dating with herpes, I did get rejected. I got rejected one time that like kind of stung. Now that person did come back later, and I love that person came back. Not like, it was too late. I had moved on. I think I was engaged at the time, but I loved that he came back and he was like, yeah, I made a really big mistake. I can't believe I let that get in the way. I was like, well, and he's still single. So anyways, and we were in our 20s. and now we're not in our 20s. So I don't know. So that's kind of a long answer about how was it delivering a baby? Delivering a baby was intense. Delivering a baby with HSV, I would say that number one, you need to get on the same page as the father and same page as your doctor. So the three of you, it's your decision on how you want to deliver this baby. If you're the father and if the father's like, I don't want this to be a vaginal birth, and you're like, I do, you and the father need to get on the same page. You also need to be on the same page as your doctor. Your doctor's obviously delivered more babies than you have, right? So if your doctor's like, hey, based on who you are, I don't feel comfortable with a vaginal delivery, then you need to really ask questions. If you're still adamant about a vaginal delivery, then look at other doctors and ask other questions, but understand specifically why your doctor is saying that for you. My doctor has delivered over 10,000 babies, and he's like, I've never had a transmission occur. He felt comfortable with me having, taking the antiviral and not having an outbreak within a week, that he's like, I feel comfortable having a vaginal delivery for you. Someone says, no, you're fine. You're telling life and you're a beautiful person who cares for others. Thanks, Coco. She's telling the truth. Thanks. How do you get tested for herpes? How do you get tested for herpes? Oops. You can be diagnosed with herpes a couple of different ways. So you could have a clinical diagnosis, which means that you go to your doctor or healthcare provider or whoever, and your doctor can diagnose you by looking at the symptoms, by listening to your symptoms. Like if it looks like herpes and you have the symptoms, then the doctor will probably clinically diagnose you. So there's no test done, it's just looking at it. You can also have a blood draw that's looking for the antibodies in your blood. It's not the virus that's in your blood, it's the antibodies that your body produces. So it's not a blood disease, it's not living in your blood. And so one of the pros with that is you know what type you have. One of the cons with that is you don't know where it's located. So you may say like, oh, you're positive for HSV1. You don't assume it's oral. It could be oral, it could be genital, it could be really anywhere. And also it does take your body a while to make antibodies. So it's not like, oh, I hooked up this weekend, let me go get tested on Monday. You're going to be negative because your body hasn't had an opportunity to create the antibodies. Three is a swab of the actual lesion or blister, not ulcer, but the blister or lesion, and they're going to search for the viral DNA. You have to have a blister or a lesion though. So those are the three ways you get tested and get diagnosed. It's very sweet. I want to educate myself, especially because there's a stigma. Yeah, there's a huge stigma. So you only virally shed once a year if HSV care. You know, I wouldn't say that you only virally shed once a year. So there's not really a way to know specifically how often you shed, how often I shed, how often he sheds, she sheds, right? There's no way to really know how often you shed unless you were to go get swabbed daily. Statistically, the longer you've had HSV, the less likely you are to shed as often. So unfortunately, there's not an easy answer for you. Yes, it can when it starts turning to AIDS. No, HIV can turn into AIDS. HSV, herpes, does not turn into AIDS. Have you ever heard of HSV1 or HSV2 is affiliated with glaucoma? So like in your eyes? Yes, I have. However, I'm not an expert in it. I did have a member in my community that had some serious eye issues and has HSV in his eye. I am not an expert in that. I do not know how to really even answer that question for you. So I would speak specifically to an optometrist and or a virologist and get those answers, because glaucoma is not something you want to mess around with. Your last pap was abnormal. Is that something to do with HSV? No, that would be HPV. So herpes has nothing to do with a normal or abnormal pap. All right, I'm going to go ahead and answer the question I have for the Herpes Anonymous guys, which is the reason why I jumped on. But you guys asked me a lot of... And my throat is so dry today. Whew, it's super dry. Okay, this is from John. He asked his Herpes Anonymous question. Sorry, guys. John said, I've had HSV for a long time, but just didn't really know much about the herpes virus. My question and concern is, how should I properly wash my hands? And for how many minutes after touching a cold sore or the surrounding area? I'm very OCD with hand washing, and my biggest fear is unknowingly spreading the HSV-1 virus somewhere else on the body. What are the chances of it spreading HSV elsewhere if I've already been living with this for a long time? I'm currently going to therapy trying to learn how to manage this fear of HSV-1 and wash my hands. Please, any information that you have regarding these things would be really helpful. Okay, cool. Totally understand where you're at, John, because I think we all get a little OCD when we are diagnosed with herpes. We freak out. Oh my gosh, I touched it. Here's what we know today. And I say here's what we know today is because things changed. We adapt more technology. We're able to understand. 40 years ago, we only knew of herpes. We didn't know that there was HSV-1, HSV-2. There was just herpes, right? So that we didn't have the ability to go deep enough and look at the viral DNA. Now we're able to look at 2 types of viral DNA and say there's 2 types. What we know today, and I'm not a doctor, but what we know today is once you have the HSV virus, in your case HSV-1, your body creates antibodies and you're not going to reinfect yourself with the same virus. Again, I say that with an asterisk because there may be new technology out. There may be something I don't know. There could be something ever changing that could say that, hey, yeah, you actually can. I've not experienced this. I am someone that has HSV-1 oral, HSV-2 genital. When I touch the virus via accidentally or on purpose, I wash my hands for 25 seconds. I make sure I get under my fingernails, and then I leave it. Because in my mind, that's all I can do. It's really easy to go down the rabbit hole or the cycle of what if this, and the thing is like, you have a choice. This is on anything, but specifically we're talking about herpes. A belief is like the wind. You can't see the wind, but you know the wind is there, but you can't see it, right? It's a belief is the same thing. You can't see your belief, but you know your belief is there, and you can choose to believe something negative or you can choose to believe something positive, meaning we can choose to freak out about the HSV virus being transmitted to other parts in our body, or we can choose to believe like, hey, I washed my hands, I did everything I could possibly do, I'm done. Again, I know that's much easier said than done, and you did mention, John, that you are in therapy over this, so I'm not trying to like downplay it in any way. I've talked to people that use bleach. I don't think you need to do that. You know what I mean? You, me, everyone on this live, we've touched herpes. Like I probably touched herpes. I went to the bank. You touch everything, you got to open the door and you got the deposit slip and you got to get the pen, you got to get the ATM, all that. I probably touched many viruses today unknowingly, right? And I don't have them all over my hands. So you just have to, I can't worry about it and I can't freak out about it. I go home and I wash my hands. Done. So I'm glad that you properly wash your hands. How many minutes after touching a cold sore or the surrounding area? I would just say you wash your hands and you're done. what are the chances of getting or spreading? The chances of spreading HSV to another part of your body is very, very slim. In fact, I have never heard of anybody doing that unless they didn't have the antibodies. So I've heard of people getting outbreaks on multiple locations, and this is when they did not have the antibodies. They infected their body early on, and so that's why they got outbreaks in multiple locations. But in your case, you've had it for years. So yeah, John, I really hope this helps. I'm glad that you're in therapy over it. Some things, let me just try and think. What are some things that can help you naturally? Okay, so the reason why we get outbreaks is because our immune system's on overdrive. Our immune system is shot. The reason why we get outbreaks is because our nervous system is also in its heightened state. It's in what's called fight or flight. Anything we can do to boost our immune system, anything we can do to calm our nervous system is going to help us with outbreaks. So are there some foods that trigger outbreaks? Yeah, of course. Just like anything can trigger anything, right? Like, not anything can trigger anything, but like all sorts of, like there's people that have gout, for example, and they're like, I remember my professor in college had gout, and ham would trigger his gout bouts. I don't even know what that, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know anything about it. But he's like, we were in Spain, and he's like, I can't eat ham because it triggers my gout. Okay, so like there's foods that trigger any type of concern we may have in our bodies. But if you're not eating those foods that are high in arginine and you're still getting tons of outbreaks, John, I would look at ways to calm your nervous system. Are you grounding? Are you sitting? Are you going outside? Are you getting fresh air? Are you putting your feet into the ground, like literally walking around on the grass? Are you grounding? Are you getting that magnetic field from the earth? Are you journaling? Are you breathing? Are you resting? Are you in a hyper intense state, or is it always a rushed thing? Like, I gotta go here. Are you slowing down the situation? One of the things that I have learned to do, and I do it all the time, is I do tapping. It's when I will tap the certain meridians on my body so that I can calm my nervous system immediately. So if I'm ever in that state of, like, you're in traffic and you're like, right? And you can feel it. And that's when I know, I'm like, dude, Alexandra, if you don't calm down, you're going to get an outbreak. So I will immediately start tapping. So John, I couldn't do a whole other video on that, but in the meantime, I would just research, like on YouTube, like tapping, like what does that look like? What does it do? How does it support you? If you guys are interested in that, I will also do a video on that to support us, because it is something that's life-changing for me, and I do this as often as I can. I also have on my website a free webinar, video, or course, whatever you want to call it, talking about the nervous system and our brain. What are some side effects of our brain or our nervous system being in a heightened state? One of them is herpes, but there's a whole list of things that are a ripple effect on our body for not getting our nervous system relaxed. So it sounds like to me, especially if you're also dealing with like the OCD side of washing hands or freaking out about an outbreak, this might be something that's really helpful for you. Like I said, it's on my website. You can check it out. It's free. You can watch the video anytime. But again, these are also some other things that you can do to support yourself. Okay, so I think I answered your question, John. If you have more, please let me know. Andy, the amount of adults that know the difference between HIV and HSV, yeah, I know. Does it transfer another part of your body like arms? I just answered that. No, it's kind of hard to like transmit it to other parts of your body. Can it happen? Like if you don't have the antibodies, it can. Can I still give my girl a baby without transmitting? You can still get your girlfriend or girl or wife or whatever pregnant. Can you transmit herpes? Yeah, I mean, you can, but my husband doesn't have herpes, and we have a baby, we have a little boy. What if a person never takes medicine for it? Then that person is a rock star. If someone never needs the antiviral in their life, I am jealous, and that person's a rock star. Is type 1 less serious than 2? No. They're the same. What about passing it during childbirth? It's a very small chance you're going to pass it during childbirth if you're on the antiviral and do not have an outbreak. Do we have to take the antiviral daily? So as a person who's not a doctor, I can't answer that for you. But I would say a doctor would tell you it can be prescribed to you daily as a prophylactic to help prevent daily outbreaks if you wish, or you can take it, or you can decide, hey, I don't want to take it, or you can decide I only want to take it when I have herpes outbreaks. Okay, guys, I am going to bounce. I thank you for joining me. I keep getting these violations. It really frustrates me. But anyways, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And I will see you all soon. Bye, guys.